Golden State Warriors fans, how we doing? Maybe not so good, right? Dubnation, how we feeling? Yeah, not very good. Not good. The Golden State Warriors are out of the playoffs. They have been eliminated by the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-1. Yes, 4-1. The Minnesota Timberwolves have kicked the Golden State Warriors out of the playoffs. And let's just do some initial reactions, initial thoughts, because this is going to be a long offseason. We're going to have a lot of fun here at C-Train Station talking Warriors in the offseason, but just initial reactions real quick. Number one, thank you, the viewer, for making C-Train Station happen, for helping to make C-Train Station happen. Thank you for your comments, for your likes, for your subscription, for your views, right? I am so grateful to be able to talk Golden State Warriors, and the community that has been built around C-Train Station is awesome. It's fun. It's positive, right? We got some daily motivational quotes, and I have you to thank for it. So thank you very much. Immediate reactions though. Let's go for it. Let's go. This roster, the Warriors roster this season, it's not that of a balanced contender. It is not. It's not even close, honestly. When you're looking at what a balanced contending roster really comprises of, like maybe if you look at a roster like the Celtics roster, right? The defending champions who had goals and still have goals of defending and of becoming a dynasty against all odds, honestly, because it's tough with the new collective bargaining agreement. I think we can agree on that. But the Golden State, I'm just going to throw a few names out there, and I'm not trying to be a punk here at all. And in fact, these players have played their butts off, and I actually wouldn't mind them being on the Warriors next season, right? But like just follow me here, like Guy Santos, Quentin Post, Pat Spencer, even Moses Moody. I know I have to say, Kayvon Looney. I know Kayvon Looney did contribute on a championship-winning squad, but look, when you look at those players, they're not established. Well, it's not their fault that some of these guys aren't established, right? They're young, but they're not the type of known commodity that a championship contender would rely on, honestly, right? Quentin Post is a second round draft pick rookie. Right? You wouldn't expect him to contribute, yet he started many playoff games, I believe, right? He contributed, but I don't love that. Not only, it's like, because, I think that we might get off to the wrong tone here a little bit, because I do love players like Quentin Post and Guy Santos, but I don't think that you can have just so many on a contending squad, right? Because when your Guy Santos end up having to go against the depth of like a Derek White of the Celtics, right? It doesn't match up when Pat Spencer, for example, would have to go up against like a Peyton Pritchard, a sixth man of the year. It doesn't match up, and it doesn't add up, because the Warriors I think that they were trying to be the best squad that they could be, and they really they haven't made a lot of moves. They were frozen the last few seasons, and that's the Warriors' fault, right? I think that the Butler trade really did jumpstart some stuff, but they only made one trade, right? Imagine if they made two. They probably, and this is funny because I graded the Jimmy Butler trade initially. If you look at my grade, I said, look, if the Warriors make another trade, this could easily get into the B+ territory, A-, right? But just that trade alone, no, that's not enough. It's not enough. This team before Jimmy Butler was a lottery level team, and that's even with Steph and Curry. We have to understand that. So the Warriors, there's inconsistencies of process, in my opinion, for how the Warriors construct their roster. They have to have more players of the Melton, right? Of like a D'Anthony Melton. They need more of that ilk in order to truly compete. They need some guys who have been in the league at least for a few years, for a few seasons, and have solidified traits so that the Warriors can really have access and utilize those traits. And here's an example. Like, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get with Guy Santos, but you know that you're going to get energy, right? Come on. What's his go-to thing? Nothing really. And everything, but that's beyond the point. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get with Guy Santos, but with Buddy Hield, he's an established veteran, right? Sure, is he inconsistent in his own ways? Absolutely. We've been on the Buddy Hield roller coaster, right? We all went on that this season. However, we know that he can do one thing. He can shoot. Can he shoot off the dribble? No, not really. Can he like dribble? Can he play defense? A little bit, and he's buying in. So I like that, but it's like we at least know that Buddy Hield can shoot. So if we need a spot shot, a set shooter, a guy to make opponents pay for not being able to space the floor, Buddy Hield's that guy. What are you getting with Guy Santos? Like, you're getting energy. You need to have more solid access to attributes in order for coaches to put players in the position. And it's not Quentin Post, it's not Guy Santos' fault that they have been really just elevated. They've played their way into their positions, but all I'm saying is that in order to succeed in this league, the Warriors need more players who have solid, who excel at certain things. Like, for example, like a 3-and-D. I can play defense and also I can shoot the rock, like a Cam Johnson, right? So this roster isn't that of a balanced contender. I've said that like 3 times now. For the next 3 seasons, I think the Warriors need to build a contending roster around Stephen Curry for the next 3 seasons. And that shouldn't even be... Stephen Curry is one of the best basketball players of all time. He has essentially showed no signs of slowing down. And he had such a long offseason, right? He was doing night-night to the Olympics, to the world. So Stephen Curry, in my opinion, has at least 3 competing for NBA titles. Heavily competing, deep playoff runs. I believe he easily has that in him. So the Warriors need to construct a contender for 3 seasons. At least, right? This one is big. And this is a little sad, but this is the honest truth. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the omelet. I'm going to give you the honest truth, but then I'm going to give you the reality. I'm going to give you my truth, and then the reality of the situation, right? Taking a little perspective away from my emotions and everything like that. I do not think that this roster is good enough to warrant anybody but Stephen Curry being available via trade or whatever the heck. I believe that any and every player except for Stephen Curry is expendable on this team. And that's not only an emotional reaction, it's not even measured, but it's actually true. Like, if I look at a singular player, I love some of these guys. I love what they do, right? Like, I love these players. Like, they're really good. And what I'm saying right now isn't going to happen. But just from me to you, because I'm not going to lie to the viewer, right? To my awesome audience, I do not believe that any single player except for Stephen Curry is untouchable on the Warriors. And I don't think so at all. How about this though? Do you want proof? I'll give you some proof. The Warriors didn't win a game in the playoffs without Stephen Curry. How about that? They weren't able to win anything without Stephen Curry. So it's difficult. And you're going to find some contradictions. It's not necessarily contradictions, but because I'm telling you, that's what I believe, and that's not rooted in reality, but I just had to get that out there anyways. I believe that everybody except for Steph is expendable. So I believe the Warriors being a contending squad this season is much more. The Warriors were a contender this season, right? I believe that the fact that they were a contender was based off of Stephen Curry. Unfortunately, I think that it's like, I love Jimmy Butler, I love Pajensky, I love Draymond Green, but it's like, I believe that that's more of a testament to how good Stephen Curry is and how good he can make other players or help other players to be. And I don't think it's indicative of how good the Warriors as a balanced squad is. How about some proof right here? Not only is the playoffs proof, right? But also, I mean, like the squad with, I mean, even with Steph, right? They were not doing too well. They were not doing too well when Melton went down before the Jimmy Butler trade. They were like lottery level. So one could contend that even with Steph, they weren't that great. But no, they were contending with all components, right? It is a team, and I understand that. And all components, they were a contending squad. I just thought that that's more reflective of Steph than many other players. But the team did do it, right? Okay. If I'm coming at it with that Steph has like 3 prime years that I want to contend for all 3 seasons, beginning, middle, and end of the next 3 seasons. I understand he's only under contract for 2, but he's got at least 3 seasons left in his prime. Absolutely, no, unquestioned. I mean, prime, like, is it like contending is a dominator. First thing I do, if I come at it in that realm with my vision, is I call for Giannis. Absolutely. And I offer anybody but Stephen Curry for Giannis. Why? Because I believe that Stephen Curry, that number one, that gaining Giannis, that there is no combination of players. I believe that Giannis is actually worth, worth a lot of valuable players on the Warriors. I absolutely believe so. And I think that if the Warriors truly want the best 1-2 punch for like the next 3 to 4 seasons consistently, Giannis and Steph can do that. And I'll just say this. Giannis is like one of the best. He's easily one of the best players in the league. He's easily if not the best. Giannis is a top 5 player. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. He is a top 5 player in the league. He is dominant. He and Steph, it would be amazing. That pick and roll would be amazing. I know that they, like, if you've seen the All-Star game with them playing with each other, I know they like each other. Lacob has been asking, if you ever want to do a Giannis and Steph, there is not a player. Like, here's an example. Jonathan Kuminga is not good enough to not trade for Giannis. If the Bucks want Jonathan Kuminga in that trade and Moses Moody, but they're not good enough. Giannis is that good of a player, and it has been proven via the Jimmy Butler trade that just one tweak with that roster and Steph runs with it. Steph runs with more than with less than a lot of people think, in my opinion. Remember, this is still my dream world that we're talking about, and we're going to come down to reality in a second. Boom, here's reality. I definitely don't think that they're going to get Giannis. In fact, I believe it's Dalton Johnson and Anthony Slater. I believe multiple Warriors beat writers have said that the Warriors have sort of stated that they want to build a contending squad around Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry, and probably Draymond Green. I've seen definitely Steph and Jimmy, and then many sources say Draymond as well. This is what I think that they're going to do. This is more realistic. Unfortunately, we have to play in the real world, and some of these options that I'm going to give aren't as good as aren't the best options. And I think that that's realistically what the Warriors will probably end up with. And it's not all bad because Stephen Curry is able to do more with less if I've ever seen a player. So a prediction. I think the Warriors will flirt with LeBron James again. This would, and I think that they would think of it as like the last stand of the old guard. Truly the OGs against the new guard. The last stand, right? Two of the two best of their era. Steph and LeBron finally team up. Draymond Green would be there too because he's like best friends with LeBron as well. Jimmy Butler, and this is the funny thing. When we're just shooting it, I'll tell you this. This is a C-train up. Look, on paper, actually, like a Jimmy Butler for LeBron James swap, like it benefits both teams. It really does. Luka now has a defender in Jimmy Butler who doesn't need the ball as much as LeBron James, right? They're not going to be fighting over that as much in any way, shape, or form. And also, like Jimmy is pretty, like, Jimmy brings that defense and that ability. And for the Warriors, it makes so much sense, but like 2 years ago, it made sense. I no longer think that LeBron James to the Warriors, I can no longer necessarily endorse it. We're really fighting Father Time if LeBron James went to the Warriors. I don't know if the Warriors would have enough capital to get quality enough players around that contingent, and it just doesn't make as much sense. A few years ago, 2 seasons ago, Joe Lacob had said, you can look this up. Joe Lacob called up Kupchak or whatever of the Lakers and asked about LeBron. I can't endorse it anymore. It's like I used to really, really like the idea, but I think it would take a season or 2 for them to get going. Too long. It's too late. It's too late for that. It's too late. I'm just cooling on that. You know what I mean? I'm good. I'm good on LeBron James to the Warriors. So yeah. Some notes though. If Steph and KD wanted to run it back with Jimmy Butler, I would have no problem trading Draymond Green and Jonathan Kuminga to the Suns for Kevin Durant. So one more time. If Steph wanted to run it back with KD instead of Draymond, because I don't think that they could, I think that Draymond would be gone in that trade, and maybe they would trade Jimmy back out for KD. I just don't think so for some reason. Because I don't think so because the reports that I've been getting have said really that like Steph and Jimmy are like the two that the Warriors really want to build around, that they think that because they had so much success in the second half of the season after the Butler trade. The Warriors, I believe, were 23-7. Wonderful, wonderful record right there. Good record with Jimmy Butler. So I understand that. I definitely do. But yes, I would rather watch Steph, KD, and Jimmy than Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. And I think that it's a better team with Kevin Durant if you have Kevin Durant instead of Draymond Green. And I understand the defense schmefense, though. Honestly, like Kevin Durant's a decent defender. Jimmy Butler makes up with some of it, and they can get some dogs. So I wouldn't mind that. We're going around this block one more time, though. I got to tell you this. If there's anybody who fits this squad even more so than in years past when I've really wanted the Warriors to trade for this player, and they've been flirting with acquiring this player. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm here to tell you right now, Lauri Markkanen fits this squad to a T. This squad with Lauri Markkanen he would do wonders. He would do wonders. I think that a Lauri Markkanen trade is now way more feasible for a few reasons. Number one, Utah, they're not tanking as much anymore, right? I think that they may be done with the tanking for Cooper Flagg because that failed so miserably. And I think now they're just going to retool and not in the tanking way. I do not think that they're just going to continue to lose for the possibility of winning players in the lottery. That's the worst. That'd be really horrific. The Warriors have flirted with the possibility of getting Lauri Markkanen before, and they are in a unique position to get him once again, to acquire him. I think that Kuminga, Moody, and like 2 first-round draft picks, if you offer a re-signed Kuminga, Moses Moody, and 2 first-round draft picks with the option to maybe a swap of another one, that's a take it or leave it. That's a take it or leave it for Lauri Markkanen. I don't know how Danny Ainge would turn that down. And this is why. Lauri Markkanen doesn't have as much value as in seasons past. He's got a contract now. And he had a few injuries last season, right? He was not the player of 2 years ago. I don't care at all for the Warriors' purposes, by the way, for the record. But Lauri Markkanen's new deal gives him lesser value because he is paid handsomely. He's getting paid like $42 to $50 million a freaking season, right? That's so much. It doesn't leave the Warriors really any wiggle room if they have Lauri, Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy. But honestly, that's a foursome that I would I think could really compete, like legitimately compete and give the league tons of issues. It would be like Steph, Pods, Butler, Lauri, Draymond, essentially. Or you could go like a Steph, Butler, Lauri, Draymond, Steven Adams, if you could get Steven Adams. So, but I love, this is what I love about Lauri Markkanen so much, and I'll tell you, is that he has the unique ability of being a 7-footer who really does have range, and he can handle a little bit too. He's a good, I think he was really high up in the leagues in dunks a few years ago too. But this is what's so unique about this, and this is where the C-Train vision really comes in, is that the size mismatch. So Steph is 6'3" and Lauri is 7 feet tall. The person who's guarding Steph, so this is the long story short, okay? You're knowledgeable fans out here. A Stephen Curry and Lauri Markkanen pick and roll would feed families. It would do wonders. In my opinion, a Steph and Lauri pick and roll has the potential to be a top 3 in the league, and that's saying a whole heck of a lot with really good pick and roll players out there and pick and pop players out there. I really, really think that, especially with what Lauri Markkanen does well, he has size, so he can finish, right? He can finish down low. He has that size. Like he can dunk, easy access to the rim. But also he has that range. I'm going to make a prediction, though. I think that the Warriors would easily, if they had, a starting lineup of Steph, Pajinski, Jimmy, Lauri Markkanen, and Draymond Green, in my opinion, or, right, if you can get him, Steph, Butler, Lauri, Draymond, and Steven Adams with Pajinski off the bench, I think that those lineups with Lauri Markkanen contends. They get you a top 6 seed in the West, barring injuries, probably top 4 seed in the West. That's how good I think that Lauri and Steph pick and roll, pick and pop can be. And also it's like, I hear that Steve Kerr, I believe that Steve Kerr really likes Lauri Markkanen as well. They both went to the university. They're both Arizona Wildcat alumni. A lot of things add up. And here's the funny thing. I just have this hunch that the Warriors might make a trade with the Utah Jazz, but it will be for John Collins. And that's and it's hilarious because it's they would have been so close. And John Collins fits the bill as well, honestly. And he was a 40% three-point shooter last season. But he averages so many turnovers per game, man. He averages upwards of 2.5, 3 turnovers per game, John Collins. But I believe, just knowing my expectations versus reality, right? Super out of the world expectation was Giannis. Not going to happen at all. Expectation that's somewhat realistic, too. Make a package for Lauri. He really fit last season, and he fits even better this next season. They're not going to do that, even though that is actually realistic. It is feasible. Re-sign Kuminga, Moody, and also 2 first-round draft picks. That should get you close, or get you Lauri Markkanen. Seriously. Okay? I don't think that's going to happen. The realistic expectation, what I really think is going to happen is a John Collins. Is that it'll be a re-signed Kuminga for a John Collins level type of player, which I think is fine. It's just they'll meddle a little bit more with John Collins than is solid, will absolutely freaking fit Lauri Markkanen. And I'll just say this real quick. Lauri Markkanen fits the Warriors a whole heck of a lot better than Jimmy Butler fits the Warriors. And what has Jimmy Butler done for the Warriors? Now, Jimmy Butler's a better player, okay? But not by that much right now. Not at all. Lauri Markkanen is entering his prime, and he's an all-star 2 seasons ago. So, right? Yes. So, it's going to be such an interesting. Want Giannis, would settle for Lauri Markkanen. They'll contend easily with Lauri Markkanen, get a high seed. They'll get John Collins. It's fine. It happens. That's what happens. For the record, I think Brandon Podziemski is off the table, and it's because of something more important. Especially with Jimmy Butler, with Draymond Green, and with Steph. The Warriors are going to need guys who can really log lots of positive regular season minutes. Brandon Podziemski is the epitome of logging positive winning minutes for a winner. Positive minutes for a winner. And I just think that is like, it's something that is really underrated and hasn't been brought up. Like, and another player who I really like, technically, Moses Moody has been like that as well. He has logged solid minutes, positive minutes for a winner. The only, Moody was horrific in the playoffs, though. He didn't do well. It stinks to say that. He did not do well in the playoffs. Buddy Hield is another player that he has a solid role, and in that role, he can log decent positive minutes, right? If he is just a shooter for the Warriors and isn't asked to do a bunch of other things, he can do well. He can positively contribute and in a good amount of minutes, in a substantial amount, like 20 plus minutes. Let's do some news and notes real quick. Shams has linked Brook Lopez to the Warriors as a target that might fit. I love it. Brook Lopez offers size. He's a good defender. He's a good defender still. Not great at all, right? And he really slowed down in the playoffs because he's 37. Yeah, Brook Lopez is 37 freaking years old. But honestly, that's the exact type of veteran that I'm looking for. It's the exact type of guy that I would want if I were the Warriors. The only thing my only knock on Lopez is that he doesn't get a lot of rebounds for his size. That can be made up by players like Podziemski. And the Warriors just haven't necessarily, that hasn't been a deal breaker for the Warriors in the past. Shouldn't be now. Brook Lopez fits what the Warriors want to do, which is compete next season and compete at a high level. The Warriors have an $8 million or so exception from trading Kyle Anderson that they can use. In years past, so the Warriors can trade the exception, the 8.6 or whatever million dollar exception for a player. And they'll have to attach draft capital to do that, I'm sure. These exceptions were ones that the Warriors have not used in the past. They have to use that, man. They got to use that this time. They can't let that go to waste. They can't be tentative. They cannot let that go to waste. They've let other exceptions go to waste in the past, and it's come back to bite them. So, I've heard rumors of Goga Pitatse, who's a center for the Orlando Magic, would be a great player to attach a few second-round picks to and that exception. Go get him, right? He adds big man. He's a solid big man, still young. He adds depth, size, and a little bit of rim protection. I think he averaged something like 1.4 blocks per game last season. That's good. That's good. One last thing, other than the thank you. The NBA is a business. The Warriors as a squad or a team, they are a business, a for-profit business. The NBA is a business. We need to remember this, Warriors fans. This is so important, seriously. Business-wise, and the NBA is a business. Mike Dunleavy Jr., the Warriors general manager, he can't get beat by other deals and to other deals, and he can't be afraid to deal because of how the market shifts. The Warriors must get better, and they have more than ample ways to do it, and they have to. They must do it. They must go all out and sell out far more than they did in the seasons past. Steph Curry is still good to go. The Warriors need to finally commit. This is the last chance. This is the last chance to commit to championships under this dynasty. The Warriors have ample ways, but look, this is an example. I'm going to give you an example of how I believe Mike Dunleavy Jr. might cower Okay, this is a reason. Watch this. Imagine that there's a crazy trade and somehow like the Rockets or the Spurs get Giannis, okay? Or let's say that Lauri Markkanen is traded, but to the Lakers. Mike Dunleavy Jr. can't get shook by that. He can't get shook by what that does to the markets. He needs to continue to go and search out trades, because this is what Mike Dunleavy Jr. has done in the past. He has waited, and then he's got scared. And I believe that he has intentionally waited for other teams to do things, and then based off of that, he has used fear as a motivator to not do anything, which is why the Warriors, like the devastating reason why the Warriors let Chris Paul and his contract slot go. That devastating reason, because I'll tell you what, if the Warriors still had that Chris Paul salary slot, Giannis is coming to Golden State this summer. I all but guarantee it. Joe Lacob should be ashamed in that respect, and Mike Dunleavy Jr. Because of this, Joe Lacob has always wanted Giannis. He had the opportunity via the CP3 slot. He let it go. That's not good enough. The Warriors can't do nothing just because they're afraid. I understand that Mike Dunleavy Jr. is afraid. Listen, Mike, you have to be afraid and also do deals. Be afraid. That's fine. He's a dude. I'm not even kidding. Or prudent, whatever you want to call it, bro. Look, be that and make the freaking deal. It is going to be, this offseason will be deal or no deal. Do the Warriors think about a lot of stuff and settle with Pat Spencer and Post and Braxton Key as key role players because they're going to step up? Or will the Warriors get key role players that will actually step up? It's really, really, really simple and easy. The Warriors have the assets, Kuminga, trade exceptions, draft capital out of the yizzle, honestly. Will they make them? They must make the move. It's just, what moves will they make? And I have faith in Mike Dunleavy Jr. Despite any, I was just messing with him being afraid and all that stuff. I do think that he's incredibly tentative, right? He's only made like one substantial deal. But I think that Mike Dunleavy Jr. hit such a home run with the Jimmy Butler trade that gives him runway and leeway to like not do as well with some other deals and still have a formidable squad this next season, right? Because it's like the Warriors could not easily, but very conceivably add a Cam Johnson for like Jonathan Kuminga, right? And that really, and then you put that into the fold and you're talking about a contender. Absolutely, you're looking at a contender for the Warriors next season. So, Golden State Warriors fans, there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to be grateful for this season. It was a good season. The Warriors performed well. Amazing basketball. Just enjoy this. Enjoy Steph while he's here. I'm telling y'all, enjoy Stephen Curry while he is here. And thank you so much. If you're comment who's one player who you want to see on the Warriors next season. Comment if you made it this far. The battle of attrition, the 30-minute plus videos of C-Train going off. And we're having fun though. So of course, for your Golden State Warriors content, like, subscribe, follow, and comment. Do all the good stuff. And I'll see you next time at C-Train Station. Have a good one. Thanks again for an awesome season.